Hi, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is March 26th, and we're going to hear part 2 of the article that we started yesterday entitled Embracing Imperfection with the Healing Art of Kintsugi. And I think that title is really interesting because we're talking about a physical object. We're talking about pottery, but they're talking about healing, which makes me think of animals, humans and other animals.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think that taking an animal from a tough situation and showing them love and nurture, can you bring them around? And I think that you can get a number of animals that can be tamed, get them into a comfortable position. They may never be an animal that sits on your lap and snuggles up with you, but you will find animals that trust you. I've had a lot of feral cats in my day in my local colonies that have never been comfortable with me petting or holding them, but they like to be by you and they watch you and they'll even sit far away after they're done eating and being by you. They'll just sit and just kind of watch you and be happy that you're there. This isn't a guarded pose. Their body tells you a lot. And in many ways, aren't you showing these animals a certain amount of love, which in some way heals them?
That's a very nice story. I watch these videos all the time because I can't stand usual TV and movies with all the violence and everything. I watch a lot of animal rehabilitation videos.
Interesting.
And also videos of animals learning how to use talk buttons. Those are really fun. You'll be amazed at the thought processes of animals.
I think so.
So look them up online if you want a lot of entertainment. That'll be a kind of bottomless pit. So yeah, when I see healing, I think of something that we humans are almost always kind of looking for healing.
I suppose so. And yesterday you brought up this idea too. I was really thinking about this idea. I really like this. So we were talking about the healing art of Kintsugi, finding the beauty in perfection. And you expressed how AI has demonstrated to us that we often actually like a certain amount of imperfection in our beauty because when it's too perfect, it feels very odd. And a thought we didn't get to that I had is that Kintsugi also has a kind of inherent contradiction. So Kintsugi doesn't hide imperfections, but emphasizes it. But the metal staples that our Shogun friend got with his Chinese tea bowl, he felt they were too ugly. And so there's this question that I have that are there some imperfections too ugly to embrace? And what's that line? And I bet you a person that is more versed in Kintsugi could explain that to me better than my just question. But I wonder, are there some things too ugly to embrace?
Yeah, that's a really basic question. And I gave the example yesterday of a woman, for example, with very bushy eyebrows. So she'd always been plucking them, but now she's been told to embrace them. You can embrace them and get by with it, but you have to learn a new attitude of confidence. Because if you look like you're always apologizing and pulling away from people because you're self-conscious, that doesn't work. People
do pick up on that, and the bullies of the world will leap at the opportunity
Absolutely.
to make fun of you for it.
Okay, let's get to part 2 of our article, Embracing Imperfection with the Healing Art of Kintsugi. The art of Kintsugi goes beyond craftsmanship. It contains philosophical lessons on embracing flaws instead of concealing them. In Kintsugi, cracks of broken pottery are transformed into glistening seams of gold on purpose. This approach not merely restores an object's functions, but also redefines its worth and adds new meaning.
At Kintsugi's core lies the concept of finding beauty in imperfection. Just as each repaired piece of pottery tells a story of a break and recovery, so do our personal experiences of hardship and healing define us. A broken object may never return to its original form, yet through Kintsugi, it becomes something even stronger and more beautiful. This art encourages us to see life's challenges as opportunities for renewal. Every scar we've experienced, whether visible or internal, can become evidence of personal growth.
The slow, careful process of Kintsugi inspires us to treat our own healing with the same care, honoring the time it takes to move through life's inevitable breaks and rebuild ourselves in a complete way. Kintsugi reminds us that our uniqueness comes from the marks of our experiences, and we can wear them proudly. It also helps us to cultivate a sense of respect for objects and other people. While appreciating repaired pottery for its story, we can also celebrate the unique journey each person has been through. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Title again, Embracing Perfection with the Healing Art of Kintsugi. So I gave yesterday the example of people learning to accept their perfections with the English phrase, own it. Own it. That means admit you have it and treat it as part of you and don't be ashamed of it. So embracing has that same idea. Instead of trying to hide it and being ashamed of it, embrace it, saying, look, this is me. I can remember a time when I was a kid when this struck me, because there was a picture, I think of Marilyn Monroe or some beautiful woman with a big mole. Now, normally, moles are considered unattractive, but they called it a beauty mole. I go, why is it beautiful when she has it and the rest of us have to get them burned off?
Right. It is a unique characteristic. There are several people that I was thinking of when you said that, the beauty mole. There are some people that will it makes them a little bit unique. And I was thinking about while reading this article of certain fashion magazines, they'll often not look for the most conventionally attractive model.
Right.
They'll look for someone that stands out in some unique way, that their head shape is they're traditionally attractive, but they have a unique head shape, maybe extra large eyes, or they have an angular face. Everybody has their own thing.
That's true. Okay. So we are actually looking for something unusual, but if it's too unusual, it kind of steps over a line we don't think is beautiful anymore.
I think so, apparently, and that's what our Shogun friend taught us yesterday. And I want to say that probably everybody has their own lines, and I suppose it's up to you to define what imperfections you're willing to accept or own, and which imperfections you'd prefer just to say it's easier for me to not deal with, especially if you have something like children are very curious, and you guys can't see this, but I have really hairy arms like many men do from the West. And children look at it as interesting. I look like a big teddy bear to them. But I will say there are a number of people that are very self-conscious about this. What if you have if you have an exceptionally hairy face or other parts of your body that are they draw the wrong kind of attention. And you may want to change that. And that's also okay too.
Okay, our first sentence. The art of kintsugi goes beyond craftsmanship.
Sure, it goes beyond just making it look good or making it functional.
Right. It is kind of a new piece of art. It contains philosophical lessons on embracing flaws instead of concealing them. So watch your intonation when you are reading this sentence. So if we just read it flat, it would come out like this. It contains philosophical lessons on embracing flaws instead of concealing them. If you read it like that, we would have no idea what was interesting about that sentence.
Yeah.
The only way we can make it clear to our listener about what we want them to hear is it contains philosophical lessons on embracing flaws instead of concealing them. And this is something that is often not taught in Chinese English, though.
And this word choice is interesting, too, because we're not just accepting that we have flaws and we live with them. We're embracing them. This means we're going to accept something willingly, enthusiastically, and make them a feature of our who we are as a person. And so embracing something is a nice, stronger word over just a general accept.
You just led into another really popular phrase. It's a feature, not a bug.
Oh, yeah. As I was saying, I was consciously thinking of this phrase. Oh, no, this is intentional.
That's right. It's a feature, not a bug. So if somebody is criticizing something, you say, no, that's on purpose. That's a really good thing about whatever it is.
One of the games I really like to play had a bug in it, but it was such a popular bug that the developers made it official and actually made it part of the code, and so it actually became a feature and not a bug, this bug that we were all exploiting and using. And it's like, no, actually, this is good. We like the changes that this introduced. We're keeping it. And so it literally wasn't a bug, it became a feature.
Yeah, I've read about a lot of this. In kintsugi, cracks of broken pottery are transformed into glistening seams of gold on purpose. Go ahead.
So yesterday we used the word veins of gold, and I told you, just personally, because veins is the same word as your body, I like to use the word seams of gold personally. This is just a choice for me. You should be thinking about your own favorite words.
This approach not merely restores an object's functions, but also redefines its worth and adds new meaning. And that's exactly what we've been talking about. That bug made that game more interesting, and it was popular partly because of that interesting bug. The same thing for beauty features or all kinds of other things.
That's right. It becomes part of the story. I actually have a very specific example I'll use a little later.
Okay, it's your turn then.
Our second paragraph begins. At kintsugi's core lies the concept of finding beauty in imperfection.
But like we said, it has to be controlled and with sort of within the range of something that we can accept.
Yeah, I wrote the word juxtaposition here. So juxtaposition is Juxtaposition. Juxtaposition just really is kind of like you're comparing two things here. We have this beauty and imperfection. These are two ideas that seem to contradict each other. But I don't know. I think that this is kind of, as the phrase goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and something that may be ugly to you may be very beautiful to someone else, and the opposite is equally true. However, as this phrase is written, beauty and imperfection are contrasting these two ideas.
And as we have been just discussing, AI is teaching us that too much conventional beauty is
That's my favorite
really
idea we've had in a while. I should say your idea you've had in a while, because I did not even approach it this way, and I completely agree with you. Our next sentence, just as each repaired piece of pottery tells a story of a break and recovery, so do our personal experiences of hardship and healing define us.
Now that is part of embracing yourself with all your history, because as we grow up, all kinds of crazy things happen. We have conflicts, don't get along with our siblings, we don't pass a test, or we get sent off to a different city suddenly. I mean, all kinds of things happen that we feel really damaged by. And then when we try to fit into a new place, for example, all of this other stuff becomes irrelevant. They're not going to be interested in hearing that. You just need to fit into the new place. So you start making yourself up. You're kind of disguising yourself so you can fit in better. And when you leave that behind, you're leaving an important part of yourself. So now we are finding out we really need to embrace all of that.
And I think part of this, too, is also about learning the right lessons. So when we are faced with a challenge, when we have hardships and difficulties that we need to overcome, are we learning the right lessons for them? Some people may become bitter. Some people may become unwilling to open themselves to new experiences. And these aren't necessarily the right lessons to learn sometimes. Maybe sometimes, yes. However, I think that part of kintsugi may be left unsaid here is we need to learn the right lessons to embrace with our imperfections.
One thing that I relate to on this topic is thinking about the weird things I did when I was a kid, what that I was interested in. I was interested in languages very early.
Okay.
And that's not a popular thing in the U.S. even now.
I agree.
And among, like, say, elementary school kids or junior high school kids, it's quite weird. And so people would kind of make fun of it, and I wasn't cool. I didn't like the things that they did, the pop songs, the dances and things. I was much more interested in this. And I realized on the one hand, it made me feel left out. And I thought, so what? You go ahead. I really like this thing. Underneath, I did have some kind of confidence, and it's serving me every day now in my current life. So at the time, what I'm saying is this requires a certain level of confidence. You may know who you are inside, and other people make fun of you for it, and you're not doing the things they do or like the things they do. You have to have a level of confidence.
I agree. I think confidence is a very key ingredient here, because if you are worried about what other people think about you, you may shy away from something that you said it very clearly has transformed your life.
Yeah.
And I agree that you need to be willing to accept a certain amount of hardship in order to follow paths that you believe are right.
And you have to be willing to be lonely sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's continue here. A broken object may never return to its original form, yet through kintsugi, it becomes something even stronger and more beautiful.
So if we become too focused on trying to restore it completely to the way it was, we are just going to be disappointed and ashamed.
That's right. So we're embracing change. We understand things are temporary and they won't always remain the same. This is we're getting very Buddhist here too.
Yeah.
This art encourages us to see life's challenges as opportunities for renewal.
So here we are carrying over the lessons from kintsugi to our own lives.
So when I was thinking of this, I tried thinking a setback in my own life that led to something even better. And I'm certain we all have this. I mean, for me, I lived in Taiwan for several years, and then my wife and I tried living in the U.S., and it was brutally hard. And we learned a lot of very hard lessons. And I want to say, I was already in my middle 20s when I was in my early 20s when I first came here, and in the U.S. I was in my late 20s, but that was the age I became a man, if that sounds funny. Like I became a man around the age of like 28, 29 because of the very hard lessons I needed to learn about taking care of myself and there's no one else. There's you and what you can do for yourself a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And I'm certain almost everybody has an experience in their life where something has like, I need to make a change now. And hopefully the right lessons were learned. All right, our final sentence here in paragraph 2. Every scar we've experienced, whether visible or internal, can become evidence of personal growth.
Now, I can see that in retrospect when I look back on things, frustrations, failures, or whatever it is. I can kind of think it into being something that helped me grow. But being in the middle of it right at the time is no fun.
Yeah, I agree. Being in it in our financial difficult situation was not fun. But it did make me just like mad like a bull. Like, I am going to fix this situation. Maybe that's a personal thing. I don't know how others would react to that. I imagine some people could fall into a very dark place mentally. To me, it just made me mad as a, I don't know. Give me
good.
some mad as
bull
a bull.
Good.
It made me just want to charge straight ahead to fix the problem.
So Chris has just given you another extremely important life lesson. I hope you were listening. And that is, anger is energy.
And it really is.
If you are really angry, put that anger into doing something really useful and important and valuable, because that's what I did when I was angry as a cow. Not a bull. I was very, very, very angry about something that happened in our family life. I said, okay, I'm getting my PhD. That's exactly what I did. That PhD came from anger. And so I totally agree with that lesson. I tell my students they all write it down, because sometimes when they feel anger, it can be very destructive, but just channel it into something constructive.
Dr. Anger. That's what
Absolutely.
we call you.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I believe you. I'm making a joke off the idea of Dr. Anger here.
Yeah, but that was an important life lesson. Do not miss out on that. Okay, our last paragraph here. The slow, careful process of kintsugi inspires us to treat our own healing with the same care, honoring the time it takes to move through life's inevitable breaks and rebuild ourselves in a complete way. It doesn't mean you're going to be the same thing you were before. We really don't want that. We want to grow. You will have a new, viable, maybe even better self or future after you rebuild. And based on these things you learn from your frustrations.
I agree.
Kintsugi reminds us that our uniqueness comes from the marks of our experiences, and we can wear them proudly. Now, it takes a while to embrace this, and it's easier to do after the fact. But the more you embrace your bad experiences and frustrations and things, the more whole you will become.
I think it's easier as an adult, too. This is probably harder for younger people.
Oh, it's like the world has ended when you're a kid.
Yeah.
It also helps us to cultivate a sense of respect for objects and other people. Be careful of your intonation in this sentence. Don't do this. It also helps us to cultivate a sense of respect for objects and other people. That doesn't make sense, because it's like you're saying that objects are people. Objects and other people. You have to say for objects and other people. So intonation really matters. Our last sentence, while appreciating repaired pottery for its story, we can also celebrate the unique journey each person has been through.
I have a personal example of this. So I like to collect old merchandise, toys, and games now and then. I have some choice items that I really like. And something that will drive down a price as it is if a child has written their name on it many years ago. People don't want that. And personally, I kind of like it. I imagine there was this child that loved this toy or game or whatever. They wrote their name on it. But at some point, they decided to part with it. And how much did they love it? And why did they decide to give it up? Was it a trade? Did they just sell it? Did they lose it? And to me, seeing their name on this item that they once treasured as a child, to me is just part of the story. And I love seeing them on there. I'll happily snatch up something for cheaper because some kid wrote their name on it. To me, it shows part of the love.
Inscriptions in used books are also often very interesting. We have a couple questions for you. So fill in the blanks. In kintsugi, lacquer combined with gold powder is used to glue broken pieces of pottery so cracks can be
noticed
easily. This
transformation
of cracks into golden seams reflects the philosophy of viewing our own scars as symbols of personal growth. So the answers are noticed and transformation. Number 3.
Which of the following instructors are teaching kintsugi?
2 of our choices answer this question correctly. B, Nina says, through this process, we learn that flaws can make us better. And also letter D.
Irene says, the seams of gold are meant to make the broken items more beautiful.
And our last question, what does the phrase the additions in the day 1 passage refer to?
And of course, those metal staples.
And own yourself, be yourself, embrace yourself, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.